Hello, everyone. Welcome to Restored to Freedom. It's Thursday, April the 5th, and this is my last full day in the Niagara Falls area. And I'm back on the yellow wall background here. I'm in my room, actually, at the home that I'm staying in. And I'll talk a little bit about last night. I had a great session last night in St. Catharines, Ontario, and going to have a great topic today that I've not talked about before, that the Lord wants me to share on, so looking forward to that. I'll share with all these people here, groups. So anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome Antoinette from South Africa, the newest member of Restored to Freedom, being certified to do deliverances. Excited about what the Lord has been doing with people around the world that are getting certified under Restored to Freedom so they can actually do deliverances. Because again, the success that I had seen back in Indianapolis when I was doing it all by my lonesome, the Lord said was a small microcosm of what we would see throughout the rest of the world. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing it from New York City to Washington, California, Texas, all over the United States, Canada, Philippines, Australia. It's really starting to explode down under in Australia, and South Africa and New Zealand now. So we've added some new people. We're approaching about 30 different people now that have been certified. And there's more that have actually gone through the trainings, but not all of them, want to actually do this full time and have their, names or ministries on the website. So on Restored to Freedom. But for those of you that do have a desire, that do have a calling that the Lord has, all you have to do to get certified is to watch the 4 one-hour videos on Restored to Freedom's ministry page. It's pinned at the top. You watch all 4 of those 1-hour videos. You read my books, Restored to Freedom, that deals with Jezebel, Leviathan, and you get Waking the Lion Within, read that. That deals with the Ahab spirit. And then you get the School of Ministry guide, which kind of walks you through how to do deliverances. Then you can be certified under Restored to Freedom, and then I can add you to my website. And then people looking for people to get them delivered can find you. And that's what the Lord's doing, is he's raising up a bunch of, I call no-names. All of us are no-names. Most of us have never been in ministry before, and he's using us to get those delivered that are in the church that have names, that have titles, that are unfortunately dealing with prideful spirits and Leviathan as well as Jezebel. So it's kind of cool how the Lord's, and I think that was very apropos or appropriate, is that the Lord would use people that have his heart, that have been humbled, that maybe been hurt a lot, but have a desire to get into ministry and help people. Especially, I believe this is an end-time ministry that's preparing the way for Christ to return to a pure and spotless bride. It's kind of funny that I'm in Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls represents honeymooners. A lot of people come here for their honeymoons. I don't advise doing it in the wintertime, though. It's a lot colder. So if you're going to get married and come to the falls, is do it do it no sooner than May, and maybe no later than October. But it is really amazing watching all that water just gush. You think it, sooner or later it's going to run out. It's like, when's the water going to stop? And it doesn't. It just keeps on flowing. Which, by the way, I'll share this. The Holy Spirit wants me to talk about this. I've seen a lot of people that have gotten delivered from Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab spirits, and then their finances become unclogged. Because again, Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab will clog the anointing. If you've got any of that stuff on you that has a legal right, you will clog the blessings from flowing. You get delivered from Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab, the blessings will flow like Niagara Falls. And a lot of people are seeing financial breakthroughs like they've never seen before. I know there's one person on my team, ministry team, whose husband got a new job, and now he makes as much as him and his wife combined. How cool is that? So now she can do more ministry. The Lord is opening up, in a lot of people's lives. When you get set free from this stuff, the finances will flow. In fact, there's people here in Canada that have told me that, they got delivered over this weekend, and all of a sudden they're getting blessed financially. And it's like, because why? Why would that be? Well, if I'm the Lord, and I have people that are operating in those spirits of Jezebel, Leviathan, and or Ahab, if I were to bless them financially, they're not going to use that money in an appropriate way to help others to get set free. They will use it to more selfish needs than they would be helping others. And they're not operating in purity. But once you get set free from that stuff, then the Lord starts to break through and giving you those financial blessings, because he can trust you now because you have his heart. I'm seeing that in my own ministry, where the Lord is speaking to people around the world. They're making donations, and in fact, those that are making the donations are commenting that they're getting blessed now, because it's good soil to sow into. Obviously, as a ministry that's going to help purify those that have those spirits that are operating in them in the church. So anyway, it's really exciting to watch this grow from nothing to something significant. I'm humbled to see it. I'm very humbled, and I'm so thankful for those that have joined into the ministry that are helping and are getting certified and helping others get delivered. And again, the Lord wants to use those of us who are nobodies, who are no names, to raise us up. You got to stay pure. You got to stay humble. That's the big thing, is that you cannot get pride in you. You got to make sure you keep that out, because the Lord wants to keep blessing you. But if you get arrogant and prideful, I know a lot of people that are in ministries, large ministries, and they're that way. They have Jezebel, they have Leviathan. So the Lord's wanting to purify them and get them cleaned out. So anyway, I'm excited because last weekend, my plans for this week were simply to do some personal sessions for people here in the Niagara Falls area. Well, then on Saturday evening, after we finished doing the training, a couple of ladies had approached me and said, "What are you doing Wednesday night? Can you come speak at our prophetic group of people that get together every Wednesday night?" And I'm like, well, I think I'm open. Yeah, I could probably do that. And so we did. It was in St. Catharines last night, and it was like apparently the most people they'd ever had. It was pretty packed in there, and it was awesome. Just all I do is share my testimony, and then all of a sudden you can see the light bulbs going off throughout the room saying, "Oh my gosh." You can see the tears crying. Sometimes they cry because they're having fun. They're laughing because I try to make it fun and enjoyable. And oftentimes they are getting touched by the Holy Spirit, because as I'm speaking about, if you operate in the Jezebel spirit, you will control and manipulate. You'll be like a narcissist, essentially, is what the psychologists call them. But they're Jezebel spirits is what they're hearing. And it's causing them to control, manipulate, and lie and deceive. And there's a sexual side that's not pure. And then, of course, the Leviathan's a prideful spirit. So when people hear that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, either that's me, or that's my mom, that's my dad, that's my spouse." And when they can finally understand and identify, "Oh my gosh, this explains everything. That's exactly what they have. That's exactly what I have." And then when you can take them through the deliverance prayers, there's one woman that commented after we went through the session last night, that the spirit on her was really bugging her, really trying to get her to not feel at peace. And so she couldn't wait to get to the prayer so she could get delivered. And she told me afterwards that as we went through the first prayers of the generational curses to break off, she felt it, get a little closer to leaving her. When we came to the next prayers, Jezebel, then she felt a lot more breakthrough. Then we went to the Leviathan, and by the time we got to the Ahab, she said it was completely gone. She felt the lighterness. She felt lighter. People feel lighter. Lighterness, is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, it was a good thing, a great thing. People, last night their light bulbs went off and they knew, okay, this is my spouse or this is me. Again, 85% of marriages, is what the Lord has kind of indicated, are suffering from Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab to some degree. You have a giver married to a taker. You have a controller married to someone that wants to get along with people and will just do anything to keep at peace. And it's affecting marriages at an extreme rate, and it's been going on forever. And so, when we get people delivered from this, they're a great person to be married to now. They're not being mean, they're not being controlling, and they're not being awful. And so lives are being set free. We had a lot of relatives that were watching it last night, because people would tag that were there in the room, and then they're like sisters and brothers and cousins and moms and dads would end up watching it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never heard this before, but this makes all the sense in the world. This is why I can't get along with my husband. This is why I can't get along with my wife. This is, me. I've got it." They're admitting it, and then they get delivered at the end, and it's a powerful, powerful revelation of changing the world when it comes to marriages, when it comes to being able to walk in peace and truly love your spouse. think about, when we're talking today about sex, do you just want to have sex or do you want to have sexual intimacy? There's a huge difference. There's so many people when they're walking around with these spirits of Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab, they just have sex, and this is not at all intimacy. It's selfish. It's focused on what can I do to receive, an orgasm or whatever. Again, I can talk about this stuff, and on most churches you can't. But people need to hear this because this is what they're going on in their life every day. And we need to make sure that we understand this. It explains so much, So if you have, if you or your spouse has Jezebel, Leviathan, and you have Ahab or vice versa, the Lord showed me that you will never have intimacy in your marriage when it comes to sex. It will simply be an act. And again, it is kind of like literally an act because you're acting, trying to, perform or whatever, but it doesn't draw you any closer. It's supposed to. And it will if you don't have those spirits. But if you have those spirits on you, then it's basically just an act. It's just a physical act, like animals having sex. There's no intimacy and closeness afterward. And you think about this. The Lord showed me. Sex lacking intimacy is void of true love and leaves one feeling alone, instead of joining together as one in spirit with your spouse. There was a movie by Julia Roberts that had come out a long time ago called Sleeping with the Enemy. And it was really interesting when I went through what I went through with my second wife. The whole time I felt like there were words coming out of her mouth towards me that were from the enemy. I'm like, what? Why are you saying these awful things? It was like Satan himself was speaking these words. They were horrible. I would never say those to anyone. And literally the Lord said, yeah, you're hearing from the demonic voice. That demonic voice is speaking to your spouse, telling her bad things about you, and she's taking it and spewing it out. And she even confirmed that she did hear the enemy telling her bad things about me. So that's what she's doing, is allowing that to torment her. And of course, she did not get delivered from that. And I didn't know anything about it. It was part of my training. I had to go through it for 6 years and not say a word to anybody, so it wasn't fun. But, there's two different ways. You could have one person that craves sex, wants sex all the time, but it's very selfish for their own purposes. They could care less about you, and you can feel that. On the other end of it, scale, where they don't give you sex. They want to control you. Now, they may get sex outside the marriage. They may do pornography. They may go to other people to relieve themselves, but it's not at all intimacy, and when you get delivered from spirits of Jezebel, Leviathan, then you have intimacy. Now the person truly cares about you, and they want what's best for you. They want to, please you. It brings them pleasure to see you have pleasure. So, and that's the way that God created it to be. And there's far too many marriages, I would guess probably at least 80% that are not the way they should be when it comes to sexual relationships. And when you have sexual unions, with that person, you're supposed to have, you're going to become one with them, in spirit. Well, essentially, if they have a spirit of Jezebel, Leviathan, you're having sex essentially with the demon, and that's not cool. That's not fun. Who wants to have that? Because again, you can kind of see it in the person's eyes. If they are not loving and gentle and sweet, and they become very, aggressive and perverse, then essentially you're having sex with a demon. Who wants that? Nobody does. And so I know a lot of times it's a challenge because especially if you're a woman and your husband's got this Jezebel spirit, because in the Bible it says you're not supposed to forsake your spouse when it comes to sex unless you both agree to be in fasting and prayer and stuff. But it's kind of hard if you've got a spouse that's really mean and controlling, to give them sex. It's like, wait a minute, I feel like I'm having sex with a demon. Yeah, well, you kind of are. So what do you do? What should you do? What's the Lord's, how does he weigh in on that? And of course, my ministry is trying to make people aware of that so that you can get delivered. Because when you truly get delivered, then guess what? You have intimacy. Now it's a mutual, relationship that you have, and you truly care for the other person. If they're sick, you're not going to want to force them to pleasure, yourself. Be selfish with that. So it's important to, make sure that you get set free from the spirits. If you don't, then what will happen is you will not have healthy sexual relationship. It will be selfish. And there's too many marriages, far too many marriages out there that, they watch Hollywood, they watch the movies, and they think, oh, that's going to be great. Well, that's not intimacy. It's not drawing you together spiritually. in a godly way. It's just simply a physical act that does not bring you closer. Essentially it leaves you like you're feeling alone. And that's why it's really challenging. Oftentimes too, people grow up. A lot of the women, the Lord showed me about 50% will be molested by the time they're 18. And when you're molested, that gives the right of the enemy to come into you. So you can pick up the Jezebel spirit. And then it causes you to not really want sex, or may want sex all the time. That's kind of the two ways you don't have healthy sex. And that is why it's so important for everyone to get set free from that. And then you truly do care for each other. You truly love each other. And it's a gentle, loving expression that God created. God created sex, for bringing us together from two people into one, in one spirit. But again, if one of them has the spirit of Jezebel, Leviathan, and or Ahab, you're never going to really feel that closeness that you need. And it won't be pure. It will be tainted. And there's so many marriages that it's sad. It's very sad. So freedom from those spirits is what needs to be done. Then you can have purity. Then you can have true love. I know a lot of women are desiring that. They want to be loved, especially if they grew up without fathers that love them unconditionally. And so they're willing to sacrifice, to give a guy sex, just to be able to try to get love. Well, he needs to get delivered from whatever, his pains that he's had in the past. To get delivered from the spirits, then you're not hearing the voices anymore that are tainting and causing you to do things you shouldn't be doing. You're doing it out of love and doing it out of compassion, doing it out of a desire that's pure, that is righteous, the way the Lord had it designed to be. Because I have a lot of testimonies from people that after they've gotten set free, guess what? Now they feel freed. Now, they feel the love, and they can hear the Lord's, and the Holy Spirit's voice versus the enemy. So again, I know a lot of people, if they were molested or raped, and again, a lot of the more women get affected by that than men, but there are men that also get affected by this. It's pretty hard when you're striving throughout the week because the voices that you're hearing in your head causing you to take anger out on your spouse and causing them to be hurt, to then decide, okay, let's have sex this weekend, and the person's like, really? I don't know if I really want to now because you were mean to me, and I know it firsthand. I went through some stuff. It wasn't fun. When you get berated for 3 hours, you really don't feel like sex after that, and these demons that are harassing our mates or ourselves drive you to do some crazy things. They want their way. They're very selfish. They're very self-absorbed. So when you get completely set free from this stuff, then man, you have amazing sex between a husband and a wife. I've had a lot of testimonies coming in from people around the world saying, oh my gosh, yeah, you saved the marriage. We don't strive anymore. We don't fight anymore. And now we have amazing sex. It's the way that it's supposed to be, the way it was designed to be, truly a way of bringing together two spirits into one. And you feel so close. You feel so amazing afterwards. So anyway, I know a lot of people, if they've never heard of this before, they've never gone through the deliverance from Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab, you get those spirits because of father wounds or mother wounds, or you get molested. That's how they come on a person. Again, you're innocent when you grow up. You can't decide who your parents are going to be. And when you get rejected from your parents, when you get hurt with the words they say, if they have any type at all of judgmental, critical, negative words, and or you end up being abused, physically or sexually, then you will receive the spirit of Jezebel. It comes on you because you hear the voices and they tell you, don't trust that man, don't trust that woman. They're no different than your father, your mother. Take out all your anger on them. Don't let them just sit there and do whatever they want. Tell them what to do, blah, 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 blah. Same thing if you get molested. If you get molested, you will start hearing the voice of the enemy. He will start speaking to you, and you don't know the difference. Oftentimes, if you were a child, you grew up, as you get older, you still know the difference because people aren't explaining this in a way people can understand. Yeah, we have to take our thoughts captive, it says in the Bible, but how do you do that? If you keep hearing that voice at a very strong level, you keep doing what it tells you to do. And you don't know the difference. You think it's your own voice. You think it's your own thoughts. You think it's maybe even the Lord's. So it's amazing the intimacy that happens when you truly get set free. You want to love that person. You want to out-love them. You want to do things for them. You really want to serve them, whether you're a guy or you're a girl. And so nothing's like, intimacy when it comes to marriage. Even guys, if they think about it, a lot of guys, people think, oh, guys just want sex. That's all they want. No, not the truly godly men. They want intimacy as well. They want to feel close to their spouse, because guys have their own fears and worries, and they want to be able to share and be transparent, with their spouses. And again, the enemy wants to mess all that stuff up, and he does a really good job of that, unfortunately. So, that's part of my ministry, Restorative Freedom, is very much focused on keeping marriages pure and righteous and intimate. And the only way you can do that is if you get set free. You get set free from the spirits of Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab, then man, you've got a great marriage. And there's soul wounds to be healed, and there's mindsets to be healed from. So some of the times it does take a process. But the big thing is to get taken away the legal right that the enemy has on you. And there's 3 things you have to do that. Is you have to, number 1, choose to forgive all those that have hurt you in the past. Everyone, you have to forgive. You have to have no odd against them. And how can you do that if you've got a dad or a mom that were horrible to you? Or if you've been molested or raped? Well, if you can see them through Christ's eyes, that they were a hurting little girl or boy, and that's why they became like they did, because they were hearing the voices of the enemy, then you can choose to forgive them. And say, okay, well, that's not who they really are. That's who they are because they hear voices from the enemy. That's how it works. That's how the spirits have a right to us, a legal right. And then we, of course, have to repent for what we've done. We have to be humbled. And when we do all that, then we can command the spirits to go. And then they have to obey us. They have to go, like Jesus said. So that's how you get intimacy in your relationships in marriage, And it's nothing like it. Those that have gone through this deliverance over the last several years are experiencing that. And, there's nothing worse, obviously, than a marriage where you've got one person that's dealing with Jezebel and Leviathan, the other one's dealing with Ahab's spirit. You'll never have peace. You'll never have intimacy. And it's a challenge, obviously, to stay married. Because then what will happen oftentimes is you'll look at the spouse, they're being mean to you, you end up divorcing them, or they'll divorce you. And then as you move on to the next spouse, you get married to another relationship that has Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab. And you have a controller, and you have a person that's being controlled. You have a giver and a taker. And all of a sudden, you're back to square one again, saying, oh my gosh, I just can't pick the right ones. I guess my picker's broke. And then you end up picking somebody else, and they had the very same thing. So you have to make sure you get set freed from those spirits. It's so important. Jesus talked about deliverance. We need to be delivered from demons. And the church is doing a really poor job of doing that. They don't want to talk about that. They're thinking, oh my gosh, my people will be scared if we talk about demons and getting delivered. We don't want people to vomit. Well, I don't have anyone vomits. No one vomits in my ministry. I take authority over that. We shut it down before we do the deliverance. So anyway, yes, Diana, 30 hours until you get to finally meet me. Yay! And I get to meet you. So Diana is the first person that started to manage my Jezebel, Ahab, Leviathan support group and has done a great job. And I'm coming to Elmer, Ontario, Canada, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. local time. And excited about that. Never been to that city before. And there'll be tons of people that are going to be there, going to get delivered. And then Saturday, we're doing a training, 1 to 5 p.m. And again, a lot of people are getting certified now. We need more people. Again, God's raising up people who have, are not even doing ministry, or no names, I call them. Taking the no names that are humble, that have his heart, and he's getting delivered those that have names and titles within the church who are prideful. Not everyone's prideful. Not everyone's got Jezebel that's in leadership. I'm not saying that, but there is a good percentage. I don't know, estimate-wise, maybe 50%. There's a lot if they've never gone through the deliverance before. And when I explain the characteristics, then it opens up your eyes. And you're like, oh my gosh, yes, they have that, they have that. And oftentimes you see a lot of church splits because of that. Because you have people that want to get into all of the prideful things that they do. So again, we need more people that get certified. It's not that hard. I'm seeing people, again, they can get certified. It's 4 one-hour videos to watch, or you can come attend one of my sessions in person. And then you read the books, Restorative Freedom, Waking the Lion Within, deal with Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab, and then the School of Ministry book. And then the Holy Spirit's going to lead you and direct you to get people delivered. And we have people all over the world now that are getting delivered now. And they're coming out of the woodwork. They oftentimes if they message me directly, I'll just point them back to the website, because I add people there all the time. So we added 2 people in the last, last 8 hours. One from New Zealand, her name is Ruby, and then Antoinette from South Africa. So she's from Cape Town. which is the capital, I've learned, of South Africa. So how exciting is that? We're getting different continents, different countries, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. And last night when I was actually speaking at the St. Catherine's group, I could see a vision of it. The Lord's like, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's going to continue to grow. There's going to be more and more in so many cities and towns throughout America, throughout Canada, throughout the world, because this is the number one problem that we have in the world. That is the number one most neglected problem that's out there. No one's, focused on this. The church is not wanting to talk about this. But if a church ever does, if a pastor ever does, get people set free, he'll have people flocking to his church to get set free. Trust me, if you are a pastor and you're watching this, if you want to bring me in initially to do the initial deliverances, I'll do it. But then thereafter, you need to continue to do an occasional deliverance, like at least every, 4 months at least, because you're bringing new people in. New people come in, they're going to have those spirits. You need to clean them out and get them set free. The first thing that should happen when a person gives their life to Christ, they come in the church, is to go through deliverance. Especially of Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab, because there's so many people that have that, and it ruins your marriages. That's what's causing you to strive, is you're hearing the voice of the enemy. It ruins your sex life, So, there's a woman there that said that she showed the worldwide video to her church, on Easter, and people were getting free. How cool is that? Again, you can actually do that if you want. If I can't come into your church, just show them a worldwide deliverance video. Get them delivered. It's not that hard. Again, I know the pastors have to watch it first. I would absolutely do that if I was a pastor, to make sure before I approve something, but it's working. We have testimonies everywhere. People are getting delivered, so why not show it to the entire church, or show it to your small group if you're in charge of small groups, or if you have a Bible study group. Take people through that. Let them watch it. This is, we're seeing testimonies that are just crazy, awesome stuff that's happening. Children are getting delivered. In fact, today, I was talking to the owner here at the home I'm staying in, and she's like, what? I'm going to have my children get certified so that they can actually take kids that they know that are in their sphere of influence through deliverance. How cool is that? There is no junior Holy Spirit. The same Holy Spirit that's on adults is on the children. And so it's amazing what God is doing. And in fact, I'm donating 10 of my books here locally. There's a woman that actually has a prison ministry. The Lord's like, I want your books in the prisons. So, if you know anyone that's in prisons or has a prison ministry, take the books, Restored to Freedom. You can order them on Amazon, and they're available in Spanish, they're available in German, they're available in, of course, English. And then guess what? When you get that, into the prisons, we can help them get set free too. So how cool is that? In fact, I'll say this. There's a new language that I've never even heard of before, and it's called Telugu, Telugu. I guess it's the 4th most spoken language in India. Something like 89 million people that speak that language. And this woman's going to translate my book into Telugu. And I'm like, this is exciting. This is great. The Lord actually gave a word to this guy out in California when I was interviewed last April when I was in California, that I would have my book Restored to Freedom in every language in the world. And I would have my own TV show. And I'm thinking, what? You're crazy. That ain't going to happen. And that was in April. Well, in September, I had my book available in Spanish and German, and I had my own TV show in Houston. Again, that was the TV show KBN TV. It was focused primarily in Houston. Well, then since then, Uplift TV out of Dallas has taken that show and now broadcast it across America. So people can watch it now, and it continues to grow. More people are watching it, more people are getting delivered. In fact, this Sunday, the first first 4 shows, I focused on just describing the actual spirits, and had a testimony from one of the couples in Houston that got delivered. Starting this Sunday for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to actually do deliverances on TV. I don't know if it's ever been done before. It probably has, but I'm not sure about Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab, but we're focusing on that, of course, because those are the 3 predominant spirits that are the hardest to get delivered from. But I'm so excited to see how many are going to watch that and get delivered on the spot within 28 and a half minutes, because that's how long the TV show is. I talk about it for 20 minutes, and we focus on the prayers for 8.5. So can you imagine if we can get millions of people to end up watching that and get delivered from that? Again, if you have, what is it, DirecTV, it's on channel 379. And there's also Frontier Communications, there's Hotwire Communications, there's Consolidated Communications, Buckeye Broadband. Those are the 4 other ones. There's another one that's a very large one that's coming out this July. I can't tell you who it's going to be, but it will add another 90 million people around America and maybe even outside of America that can watch the show. So cool what God is doing. So anyway, I will be here in Canada for another, 8 days, I think. So this weekend I will be in Aylmer, Aylmer, speaking at Malahide Community Center, 7 o'clock, doing a deliverance session. And then on Saturday doing a training 1 to 5. I've been invited now to come to Toronto. Yay, Toronto. I actually went to Catch the Fire last Sunday. First time ever. I got to meet the senior leaders, the pastor's wife. I guess she's a senior leader as well. Sandra Long's her name. And passed my books out there. And so some of the leaders there now can read through them, and we'll see what happens. And anyway, it looks like I'm going back to Toronto to speak on Sunday. This lady invited me to come, and we will determine exactly, confirm everything, and I'll post it as soon as it gets confirmed. But it looks very likely that I'll be in Toronto on Sunday now. I wasn't planning to do that. And then I'm doing some personal sessions throughout the rest of next week over in Aylmer, and I think I'm already booked up for those. And then I will be, where am I going? Sandusky, Ohio, April the 15th. At Eagle's Nest International Church. I've been there once before, back in July. Pastor Daryl Gant is the pastor there. It'll be a Sunday morning service. I think it starts at 10:30. Maybe it's 10. I don't know. And then April the 20th, I'll be in San Angelo, Texas, which is in West Texas. Never been there before. So I love going to new places to start new Holy Spirit fires of purity and righteousness. So we'll be going to San Angelo. On the 20th, the 21st, I'll be in Kerrville, Texas, which is like 2 hours away from there. I think it's southeast of San Angelo. And then 22nd, I'll be back in San Angelo again, doing a training. That's on a Sunday. And then April 24th, 25th, I'll be in Houston doing my TV show recordings. April 26th, I'll be in College Station, Texas. And you can message me for the exact address on that. And then May the 4th and 5th, I'll be in San Antonio. And again, doing a Friday night deliverance and a Saturday training. And May 18th and 19th, I'll be back in Houston doing a deliverance Friday night and a training on Saturday. And I'm not sure where I'm going to be between, I guess May the 6th through the 18th. For those of you that have been certified, we do have a training set up for May the 6th. It's an evening. It's at 9 o'clock Eastern time. So and that applies to, I think we're up to almost 30 people now that have gone through this certification that want to be on the Restored to Freedom train that is chugging fast around the world. So anyway, I won't talk about my June and July dates because those are out there ways. But anyway, that's what the Lord wanted me to talk about today is, do you want to just have sex or do you want to have sexual intimacy? Because there's a difference. I know what it's like to just have sex, and it's not fun. You're supposed to feel closer after you do that. And so many people, what do they feel? Alone. Unfortunately, sad. So we have to get delivered. You get delivered, and man, everything happens great. You end up not hearing the voice of the enemy. You hear the voice of the Lord. You get healed from things. You're now I see people getting financially blessed because now they're pure. They're operating in the purity. So God would want to bless you, just like the overflow of what I saw when I was in the Niagara Falls, seeing the water flow. In fact, today I saw a picture of dark clouds that were over LA Fitness that were like the light was coming above them. The Lord's like, I'm pushing back the enemy, from those that are getting set free and pure. Again, we have no control over our spouses. That's the challenge that so many of us have. But if you have a spouse that refuses to admit they've got those spirits, and again, I'd always say, let them watch one of the testimonies. If you have a husband that has, Jezebel, Leviathan, let them, go out to, if they will, try to get them to watch one of the testimonies from one of the men. I have several men out there that got delivered, that didn't want to think they had it, and they had a lot of striving and arguing in their marriages. And then if you are a man married to a woman that has the Jezebel spirit, have them watch one of the women videos, testimonies that are getting delivered. Go out on YouTube. Go out to YouTube, search for Nelson Schumann 67. That is my channel. And then you'll have videos to get delivered. And you also have testimonies of deliverance. Go to the testimonies. There's like 12 of them now out there. They hit various segments of people's lives, like those that have adopted children. You know, there's a 20-year-old boy. There's husband and wife teams that have gotten delivered. So it's really powerful if you can just show them. If you can just, crack open the door to showing them this is the truth. You do have this, and you got to be loving and gentle and sweet. But I know that those that are very strong spirits of Jezebel, it's almost like they have to be knocked on their butt, with a sickness or a disease for them to finally wake up. And even then, they sometimes don't. So, unfortunately, God gave us free will. Why did he do that? I'm like, Lord, let us override that just once, Let us, if we're strong and anointed in the Lord, to be able to come up to our spouse that wants to keep Jezebel Leviathan and kick it out. I'm like, why don't you let us do that? And he's like, well, Jesus couldn't do that either. The Pharisees, they had those spirits. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess you can't override free will, but it'd be nice to make an exception for like 1 hour. Just give us a 1 hour slot where we have to have the authority, we take it, and bam, they're freed. It would be so much easier. I don't know, maybe he'll do that. Maybe he'll change the rules before Christ comes back. That'd be nice. Make my job a lot easier and everyone else's, but otherwise, any questions anyone has, let me know. Anyway, I'm excited. Every day I'm excited. I can't wait to go to bed at night because I always have like 2 to 3 dreams. And then I wake up and the Lord tells me what I'm going to talk about for the day. And then I have all these great testimonies from all over the world of people getting set free, delivered, showing the videos to their church on Easter. How cool is that? And again, I've joked about, maybe we can put them all on a Jezebel island. There's an island called Grand Island up here. They could probably all fit on it. And we can just, put sharks around, and they can't get off the island until they get delivered. Say, okay, listen here, buddy. Listen here, girly. You have the rest of your life to live on Jezebel Island, and you can't come off of it until you get delivered. But that will probably not happen, unfortunately. I don't know, maybe Trump can make it happen. He could put like a wall around it too. So anyway, any questions for anyone? Anyone? I'm enjoying seeing all this stuff happen. I'm enjoying all these new friendships. We're like one big happy family. In fact, for those of you that were not aware, we have the Jezebel Ahab Leviathan support group. You can search on the groups within Facebook and search for Jezebel, and you will see it come up first. So. Nisa. Okay, you said your daughter showing signs of Jezebel, asked her to watch it. She refused. Then I was away on Sunday, and when I came home, she showed me she had watched it. Oh, let me see this. And apologized and told me she loves me. Wow. Oh my gosh, Nisa. Oh my gosh. How did you hear about me? Because I don't recognize your name before. Are you on one of the groups? Let me know, because I don't know you, but I'd love to talk to you about that. I mean, that would be a powerful testimony. In fact, like, how old is your daughter? Again, I've seen the young as 5 years old, up to, 95 or something, but that's awesome. Oh my gosh, that is so powerful. How many people would just love to have that happen to their children? I was talking to some people here, their kids are like in their 20s and 30s, and they just completely... they basically Jezebeled them, and then they were hurt by their dad or their mom, and they want nothing to do with them, and it's so sad. But for that to happen, that's awesome. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So cool. Let's see. When I wanted Paul to get delivered, I prayed for the Lord to soften his heart. Yeah, and Patty and Paul had a great testimony. They're actually on YouTube. And actually, I sent an email out to people on my newsletter that had that on there. And it's powerful, because Paul wanted nothing to do with me. He's like, oh no, I'm not going to watch this guy. I don't want to watch no farmer. I'm like, really? I'm not really a farmer. Yeah, I grew up on a farm. I used to sell software to banks. I'm more of a business guy. So maybe I should come across that way. Tell people I'm a software guy. I'm a banking software guy. I'm a financial services guy instead of a kid from a cornfield. But I did grow up on a cornfield until I was 18. So anyway, they have a great testimony. Yeah, I mean, again, I tell people, because they're like, what do I do if I have a spouse? I'm like, pray that their scales are removed from their eyes, and pray that their heart is softened. And again, it can be frustrating after it's been 40 years, 50 years. So what are some physical effects of having the spirits in men? EDV1. Well, I know that I have seen, like, the spirits Jezebel, Leviathan, and Ahab. Oftentimes, they will have sexual dysfunction. They will either be drawn to pornography because they're not getting pure intimacy of sex from their spouse, even though their spouse may be giving them sex. I've seen some that have Jezebel, women that have Jezebel that will limit their husbands, say you have to do this, this, and this, and this in order to achieve the ability of me giving you sex, which of course is not right. And then I've seen some women that have Jezebel that want sex all the time, and their husbands are like, really? And it's just sex so that they can have orgasms and they could care less about their spouse, and it's just not intimacy. So I have seen some of, like, ED with people that are dealing with the Ahab spirit. I've seen a lot of men that have Ahab spirits that are addicted to pornography, and it's because they've kind of given up hope with their spouse. I'm not blaming the spouses, but I do know those that have Jezebel. It's not intimacy. It's not the way it's supposed to be, and so a lot of times guys do draw to pornography, even though they may be able to get sex from their wife, but truly what they're looking for is intimacy, and that's the sad thing. But when people hear about this message in Revelation, then they can get delivered, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, now I really love you. Now you're not bossing me around and trying to control me. But oftentimes Jezebel, what it does to men is it does emasculate the man at what it wants to do. Jezebel surrounded herself oftentimes with eunuchs. The eunuchs are the ones that actually pushed her out of the window to kill her. When Jehu came a-calling at the castle and said, throw her down, who's with me? And the eunuchs are like, hey, we're here. We've been castrated by Jezebel. So pushed her off the window and killed her. So, literally a lot of people do feel emasculated by, if you are a man married to a wife that has Jezebel. You have to do whatever they want, they control, and it's not fun. And the Lord showed me that there's more women that suffer from the Jezebel spirit, like a 2-to-1 ratio. Why is that? Well, the one thing the Lord showed me was that about 50% of women, to some degree, have been molested, by the time they're 18. And men, maybe it's closer to 15-20% have had something happen. Again, it could be just something as simple as they were little girls and someone touched them inappropriately. That can allow that spirit to come in. It's sad, these spirits are nasty. They do bad stuff. And so, yeah, good question. Let me see. She's 16 years old. Awesome. That is so cool. That is so cool. In fact, Nisa, let me know, did she watch, I have a children's deliverance one that was 26 minutes long. Did she watch that one, or did she watch any of my ones for adults that I do every month on Sundays? But I'll probably reach out to you because I'd love to interview, because I don't have any. I've got a 9-year-old girl that gave her testimony, but I would love to have a teenager, because again, it affects the teenage girls. The Lord showed me about 60% of women to some degree suffer from the Jezebel, and 30% of men. So, again, if a girl gets hurt by the father, gets rejected by the father, dad's not around much, they can get touched inappropriately, get molested once, and that can bring it in. That's all that it needs. So anyway, so I will look you up and probably send you a private message, so then I would love to, because what the Lord's doing is he's bringing people in that are getting delivered that can apply to different situations in life, and that way your daughter getting delivered can then speak to all the other 16-year-old, 17-year-old girls that have that spirit, that didn't want to admit that they have it, but when they hear from their own kind, straight from the horse's mouth, and they're like, okay, yeah, I might have that. That girl came forward, she spoke, and it speaks volumes to other people. Testimonies are just tremendously powerful. So anyway, I'm not going to force anybody to do a testimony, but if she would be willing, again, I would give it at least another, 5 or 6 weeks at least at a minimum, because I want to make sure people see that over time. that it's long lasting and not just, a day or, a week, whatever. So anyway, good stuff. This past Sunday, she didn't mention anything. All right, good job, BJ, sending your mom the book and hoping to get her delivered. Let's see. Yep. She watched the children's one. Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, it's funny when I was doing the children's one, because I was thinking, Lord, I can't do this for children because they're too young. And if they're still in the home with a father or mother getting hurt, and that's how they get the Jezebel spirit, then how's that going to work? They're still getting hurt. And the Lord's like, do it. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Well, we've seen tons of kids that have been getting set free, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And a lot of times when they get set free, if they've been hurt from a father wound, then they have the child that goes back to the dad and say, you know what? This is what happened. You really hurt me. And then it causes a conviction on their parent, on the dad or the mom or whomever that had hurt them, and to get them to say, I'm so sorry, and to get them set free. So how cool is that? So Brittany, how do you get set free? You can do it right now. You basically go out to YouTube. I've got them on YouTube. I've got them on Facebook. It's basically where I explain how you get the spirits, and it gives you revelation. And basically, you have to have the understanding before you can actually get delivered, because you have to know kind of what you're doing. And then once you go through that, then I have you basically choose to forgive those that have hurt you, and repent for anything that you've done to hurt someone else, and then we command the spirits to go. So I lead you through those prayers. You take authority, you mean it, the spirits will be gone, and you will feel peace, and you will feel like never before. And oftentimes people have sicknesses and pains in their bodies, like back pain, neck pain, insomnia. That's what Leviathan does. Causes you to fall asleep if you try to read the word. I've had people get healed from fibromyalgia, bipolar, all kinds of stuff. But it's amazing. It's phenomenal. You can also get the book Restored to Freedom. But you can go out to YouTube, look up Nelson Schumann 67, and I've got videos to get delivered. And you look at that playlist, and you'll have the last, 4 months I've done. And it seems like every month it's getting stronger, the anointing. Like last month was even stronger. So you can go to the one that I did on, what day was that? The last Sunday of March. Yeah, March 26th, I think, something like that, 25th. But you can watch that one on YouTube, and you can get delivered on your own. It's like an hour long. And we have people all over the world that are watching this stuff getting delivered. So it's exciting to be a part of a ministry that is like, doing what the Lord wants to do, is to purify and get the church spotless and clean. It's so amazing to me. I can't believe I'm even doing this. Again, I grew up on a farm in Indiana. And I went to Purdue University, got a degree, sold software to banks. But I went through stuff later in my life. I grew up with a good father and mother, but had a son that essentially got molested by a boy when he was 8. And it hurt him, by a 9-year-old. And for 10 years, I went through hell. He got the spirit of Jezebel because of that. I'm like, really? He was telling me what to do. He was punching me. He was awful. But then I learned how to get him delivered. In his case, I just took authority, commanded the spirits to go, and he changed overnight. But in most cases, we don't quite know what our authority is, and so it's best to just have the kids watch the children's deliverance video. And then they say the prayers, and all of a sudden, bam, the spirits are gone, and they feel so amazing, and they're nice to us and loving. Again, you can get the spirits either from father wounds or mother wounds, however you grew up, if they were not the way they should be. Or you can get them through being molested, or you can get them even through grandparents, that the grandparents were controlling of your parents. That's how it normally passes down from generation to generation. So anyway, good stuff. Let's see, what can we do after we get deliverance? And your husband said he got it too. But we don't see signs of getting on the same page for marriage's restoration and a new fresh start. Well, what you do is you just continue to pray, if you can, pray in tongues with your spouse. That would be the best thing to do. That's what I always tell people, if you don't have your prayer language, then you need to get it. But if you have your prayer language, pray in tongues together as a couple. Nothing stronger than that to keep you in the spirit realm close together and keep the striving and arguing off of your marriage. And then you can have good sex, like great sex instead of just sex. You could have intimacy, which is awesome, off the charts. I know these are things and topics that you don't hear in church, but that's the ministry the Lord's called me into. It's talking about things that are like hush-hush and taboo, because I'm just speaking truth. And what the Lord's shown me and what I've seen in reality and lives that are out there around the world. So, all right, well, I'm going to have to let you guys go because I have to get ready to do my next personal sessions here. Again, my last day in Niagara Falls. I'm leaving tomorrow for Aylmer. I'll be there for a week. Looks like I'm going to be going to Toronto, though, on Sunday, which is exciting. Toronto's a big city. I think it's like 2.7 million people. And I got to go up in the very tall CN Tower. That's like the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. It's like 181 stories. It's like really, really tall. And you can see like everywhere up there. So I don't know if I'll go up there again because I did that once and it was like $30 to do it. So not really care to go up there twice, I guess. I don't know. Unless I could do a Facebook Live from like outside of the things. You can actually walk outside. They actually put like a cage around you. So I never did that. Last time I was up there, did it inside because it was cold. I don't know if I want to freeze or not though, because it's kind of chilly. Kind of getting my winter fix back again because I missed it. I only had 2 weeks of winter this year, believe it or not. The Lord asked me when I wanted to go for like the holidays. And I'm like, what? I have a choice? Really? I'm like, well, I thought I was going to be in Indiana. He's like, no, where do you want to go? I'm like, I don't know, Florida, Texas. And that's exactly where he took me. I was in Texas until like the week before Christmas. Then I was in Florida for like, I don't know, 3 weeks. Then I went to Indiana for 2 weeks. Then I came back to Texas, was there for like 5 or 6 weeks. And so I got to enjoy the warmth. I was thankful and grateful to the Lord. So he does want to bless us and do awesome things for his children. All righty. Well, let me see. Thank you, Susie, for your comments. Farm boy. Yep. I'm just nothing but a farm boy. You know, I used to bale hay. Used to drive tractors. Used to like to disc and tilling the land. We had a woods. We had camped in a couple of times. We had a pond. We had a creek. So it was like a typical farm. We had pigs and cows. So it was in 4-H. And it was a good life. You know, I grew up, I can't imagine growing up like in New York City. Can't imagine growing up in any city that's a large city. Because you can just feel that there's a stress level that goes up immediately as soon as you see tall buildings. So, anyhow, sorry about that. I just dropped you guys. Now I have to get lower. Nelson's taboo talk. Yes, Joni table talk. Nelson's taboo. I don't want to talk about taboo things, do I? Is that my own focus? Oh no, then I'll be blocked from all the churches. They won't let me come in and speak. We'll have to keep doing this on Facebook Live, covertly. Anyways, well, I'm going to let you guys go and have a great rest of your day. Love you guys and excited to see what the Lord's going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll talk about funny stuff. I love talking about funny stuff. Pasadena, California. Yes, I miss California. I was there in April. I love California. In fact, I was going to move there. But then all of a sudden, the Lord just started keeping me busy everywhere else. So anyways, love you guys. Have a great rest of your day. And we're almost to the weekend. Fun, fun, fun. All right. See ya. Bye-bye.